So, unfortunately for us up here in the Great White North, because if you watch the podcast, you know I'm from up here. I'm up in your northern state, the one that you just allow us to run. We're running into the ground at this point. Looks like there might be a big migration of all the illegals moving their way up north. Just keep migrating. I'm going to read this article. This is The Guardian. Guardian's kind of a dumpster fire, but let's see what they have to say about this. Canada brace for migrants as Trump reiterates mass deportation vow. Canada is bracing for a surge of migrants to its southern border after Donald Trump doubled down on his pledge to conduct the largest mass deportation in American history. On Thursday, Trump told NBC News there was no choice but to proceed in removing some of the estimated 11 million undocumented people in the United States. During Trump's first term in office, tens of thousands of Haitians fled to Canada after he ended temporary protected status for the group. It was later restored. Many passed through the Roxham Road crossing, a rural country road that served as funnel for refugees attempting to safely traverse the world's longest land border. That crossing was closed in 2023 after Canada and the U.S. amended the Safe Third Country Agreement, expanding it to cover the entire land border instead of only formal crossings. The RCMP says it has plans to deal with a fresh case of increase in crossings that has been several months in the making. A spokesperson for the federal police said officers had the tools and insight to deal with another increase, including a scenario in which hundreds of people cross every day. If those crossings claim asylum, the RCMP, which, by the way, if you're from the U.S. listening, the RCMP stands for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, not all on horse. What it stands for, cannot send them back to the United States. Instead, their claims are entered into a system with an estimated backlog of 250,000 cases. Yikes. The average processing time for a case is 44 months. My God. A parliamentary committee heard on Thursday. Experts fear that with formal crossings closed to migrants, desperate families will take increasingly dangerous routes across the 5,500-mile border. In many locations, the terrain and the weather can be deadly. In January 2022, a family of 4, including a baby, died after attempting to cross from Canada to the United States. Police said the group died from the intense cold and punishing winds, where temperatures had dipped to minus 35 degrees Celsius or minus 31 Fahrenheit for you Americanos. Last year, the bodies of 8 people, including 2 young children and their parents, were discovered on the banks of the St. Lawrence River near the Mohawk community of Aquanisnee, that is, which spans Quebec, Ontario, and New York State. Both cases involved groups heading from Canada into the U.S., but migrants heading north face the same challenges, which, as winter approaches, include sub-zero temperatures, deep snow, and frostbite. In Quebec, the province that absorbed most of the crossing, politicians warned the federal government was unprepared for a repeat of the last Trump administration. Yves-François Blanchet, leader of the separatist bloc Quebecois Party, said Ottawa was refusing to acknowledge an obvious and very serious situation and that more resources were needed to anticipate new routes used by human smugglers. So, okay, keeps going on for a little bit. Long-winded article here from The Guardian, but the gist of it is, so with these mass deportations coming from the Trump administration, or at least the looming threat of them, we could see a massive migration up the north into Canada. People might try and beat Trump administration as far as when they take office in January. So we could be seeing a lot of that going on. And obviously that's unsafe for anybody traveling that way. And it's just, I mean, with our borders right now, we're not exactly stringent on protecting our border or migrants coming into it in Canada. So this could be bad news for Canadians. Already we've seen a pretty mass immigration going on in the last bunch of years. And if you live in some of the places like around where I live, you can really see it and you can really tell just the amount of people in general that are new to the country. So not good for anybody. So hopefully Canada gets its shit together and starts working on closing their border and maybe deporting some of these migrants back to their original countries as well.